Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian,
I'm Dom.
and we are Team Bench, and you are here for episode 6 of season 1, or the only season of the Afterparty.
I think I actually did see something. They are doing a season 2.
Oh, are they really?
Don't know how. Maybe it's still Danner as a detective doing another thing. Don't know.
They're going to stuff Xavier and throw him off the balcony again.
It's a prequel, maybe.
This is Zoe's episode. If you felt like it looked like a cartoon, you're on the right episode, because what we watched, not this evening, but this week in preparation, is a cartoon. Tom, let's hit this from the top. What do you think of cartoons, just in general?
I don't mind cartoons seemingly as much as you do not.
What's the best cartoon you've ever watched? Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bluey.
Rick and Morty. Alright, Bluey's pretty dope.
Oh man.
No, I think like modern day cartoons, like I can watch Rick and Morty. It's just so weird and off the wall and very smart and clever with what it does, but it is definitely a cartoon. I enjoy like an anime every once in a while.
Okay.
But this is a different style. They're just they as opposed to all the other Mind movies we're doing, like tropes of romantic comedies or tropes of thrillers
Sure.
or whatever. This is not a trope of any sort of cartoon. I think it's too difficult to do that because there's too many cartoons out there.
I'm assuming there was a SAG actor strike and they could not get the actors, so they just drew them on the page.
Well,
but this is also something, once again, that like Community did. Like they
Yes.
did an animated episode.
Yeah, which also didn't necessarily land or was probably my favorite. Those kind of community ones. Like the
Right.
claymation one was maybe a little fun.
Right.
But anyways, I think the idea of this is in trying to do this cartoon was just to tell this story of her having like, I don't know, not necessarily multiple personalities, but like, or it's just, you couldn't really do that eloquently in live action. So
I
it's-
disagree. When she's sitting in the chair, turning one way and turning the other, playing two parts, I thought that was brilliant. I didn't need a cartoon to explain to me that she has like different sides of her that we all have,
Yes.
you know? But before we leave this thread, I just want to mention that the best cartoon in the world is Bluey.
Yeah.
If you have children or you're an adult, if you're alive, watch Bluey. It's on Disney. 7-minute episodes. They will make you laugh. They will make you cry. They will teach you about life. It is a brilliant cartoon. I love watching it with my kids. I would watch it alone. I'd do a podcast about it. I think I'm on record saying I'd do a podcast about Bluey.
Yeah, and they're Australian, so they got the great little accents, and the kids are adorable.
Oh, it's so good.
Give it a go.
It's so good. All right, well, let's dive into this. Before we dive into it, which doesn't make any sense for what I just said, I'd like to thank those of you that reached out to us. We did get some theories. Some people think that this is all a big accident, that maybe there was some slippage on some amniotic fluid. Barrett, I'm talking to you.
His podcast at this point is specifically for Barrett.
We're just talking to him.
No, yeah, some ideas. Like, I think there was some, like, I don't know if Danner slipped or there was water on the ground. So there's potential ideas of maybe that's where Gen 2 went. Her water broke. So that's where, you know, maybe she's hiding somewhere.
I'll go
She
on record
escaped.
as saying the puddle in the ground, I believe, is from the beer that is stacked on Anik while he's passed out on the ground. Because
Okay.
when he comes to in some of them, he's like, they stacked beer cups on him and it spills everywhere.
Okay.
But anyways, keep sending us your theories.
Well,
You
and
can-
there's also some theories through, was it Quiet Heather and Mr. Shapiro? Because I don't think we saw them in this episode. And I think they have been making out or having coitus in other episodes.
Having coitus, yeah, in other episodes. Thanks, Tom. This is a podcast for children. You can't use the term coitus. Parents, please explain to your children what coitus is at this moment. We'll wait. Yeah, I'm with you and some of our listeners. I don't know what's happening with Quiet Heather and Professor Shapiro. Maybe, you know, there's a lot of background stuff in this cartoon episode, and I'm going to give myself a pass that maybe I just didn't catch it. That's a great way to say that, because my eyes were rolled in the back of my head for most of this episode.
Not a cartoon man.
What?
Not a cartoon man.
Not a cartoon.
No. Well, you're not a cartoon man.
Okay.
Like that's what
Thank
we're
you.
establishing.
The comma when you said that was in the wrong spot, and I got confused.
I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
There it is. There it is. So this is Zoe's episode, and she talks about the you inside you and how sometimes you wonder about who you became and who you were supposed to be. And all this, I don't know, midlife crisis stuff. I'm way past midlife, so it doesn't matter anymore. But we drop into her Mind movie, which is a cartoon, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it.
That's interesting because the outline just says cartoon, dumb.
What would you say the style of animation on this? This is like a Phineas and Ferb type, like,
yeah, like
like that.
Everything's crazy exaggerated, and like, yeah, I don't know if I was a big fan of this type. Like, one of the things I watched recently was Arcane, that was on Netflix. I think it's following like League of Legends. I don't like, it's kind of anime mixed with like digital.
Okay.
And it's like really cool because it's like cell shaded, but like it looks really, really good. I think Marvel's did something similar to it with their What If series on Disney Plus. But I say that just to say, like, I like more of that animation that's a little bit more kind of realistic and not as stylized as they do on this one. But I don't know. What do you think?
I love cartoons, Tom. The only thing I noticed as we cut to this Mind movie, it's her entering the reunion, and there's a milk carton on the floor that has a missing Gen 2 on it.
That's pretty funny.
And that's the last time I paid attention to the background or the details in the background.
Now, so it's funny you say that was the last time, because even this one time you didn't do it very good, because it didn't say Gen 2.
Oh, it didn't?
It said Gen 3.
Who's Gen 3?
Don't know. But the idea of their...
I got the number wrong? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
The
That's
idea...
why you're the gumshoe,
Yeah.
and I'm just the rookie detective.
The idea that there was 3 Jennifers in this clique, and that one of them went missing. I don't know if we want to meet this third one.
Yeah, maybe. Well, now my main suspect is this Gen 3 that I didn't know existed until 5 seconds ago. Zoe's giving us her backstory. She spent 10 years as an art teacher, an administrator, and now she's the vice president. And she...
So, like, as she's saying this, she's, like, walking the halls of the school. She mentions, like, I feel like I never left, because she never really did leave the school. But there's a poster on the wall that says, like, Scape Diem, formerly Sconicles Scarnia. That was apparently their original name.
Sconicles, like of Scarnia?
No,
so
it
like
just
Chronicles
says...
of Narnia, but with a ska?
It says the Scarnicles Scarnia.
Okay.
There's no of. I looked just to make sure.
All right.
But I feel like this was just leftover ska puns that they had when they did the YouTube videos.
Sure.
And they just recycled it here.
Good for them. Fun Zoe tries to make an appearance. And this whole episode is like alter egos upon alter egos.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm the same person all the time. Just real sad and real fun. So,
do you think this kind of plays that? And I'm just going to get to it now as opposed to the end of the episode. Like, the idea that she has kind of multiple personalities, or there's like all these different personalities in all of us. And just like at certain times you blow up and you become the angry person, or you're the mom protective bear or whatever. Like, at the end, she kind of mentions that, like, hey, this could have been nobody. This could have been all of us. Like, it just kind of depends on, like, your perspective and all that. Which is what
tell
this...
the story,
yeah,
she says.
how you tell the story. And that's what this is kind of doing. So I think what this is kind of setting up is the idea that she very clearly has these different personalities that are coming out in her Mind movie. But I think the argument is that every other character that we've seen a Mind movie for does as well. So it's kind of like... just because she has like this like super angry rage side doesn't mean that she's the only one capable of murder. There's likely other characters that we've met that have this same side that could potentially be the killer.
Okay. That all makes sense to me. Here's where my thought is. Either someone pushed him off the balcony and that person's a murderer, or he fell off on his own and there's no murderer. I don't really understand the, like, we're all capable of it, or none of us could capable, like, depending on how you tell the story. She says that. She's like, depending on how you tell the story, it could be blah, 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 blah. And I believe in facts. I would like to believe in facts. I don't know if someone shoved him or not.
Well, no, I agree. I guess I'm just mentioning that, like, all the people we've met don't necessarily seem like the, picture of a murderer. So like something can happen to anybody that can kind of click. Like you can have that rage in you, like you weren't coming to the party to murder Xavier,
right?
But it kind of happens. And I think that's kind of what it's saying. Yeah.
No, I believe you are correct.
Not me or you though. We're not capable.
No.
We're loving souls.
We are.
Friendship, lies, chlorine.
Those are our sponsors. Thank you for hitting that at the top. We find out that Zoe hasn't been fun since she got pregnant, which I don't know what to say about that. I don't think I'm allowed to comment on that. But she does steal Walt's cup as she walks by him. She steals someone's drink, and it's Walt, and he mutters something, and then we move on. She then pulls out her list, and I went through this list, and I wrote everything down. And it took me a long time because I'm a terrible typer. Here are all the things she had on her list to do. Do something embarrassing, see the sunrise, take an Instagram-worthy skinny arm pic with the gens, kiss someone new, look for secret spot for tasteful graffiti, ignore gluten intolerance just for tonight, and that's why there's all these pictures of her like eating bread, like loaves and loaves of
little
bread.
doodles, yeah.
Yeah. Imbibe straight from the bottle, which, yeah, more power to you. Quit worrying about Maggie, so ignore your child. Yep, that's good.
Word in that one. Check.
Nab something small from Xavier's house, and small is in parentheses. Eat lots of bread, we're back to that. Allow a single man to ask for my number. Okay, so that was the list originally, and I thought I wrote everything down, but then later on she pulls the list again at the helicopter. Like her alter ego's like, no, this is on the list. And so added to the list, and I don't know if this happens through the night. I don't know if it was just... I mean, all these things are from her imagination.
I think it's a camera pan. I just don't think they got to the bottom of the note. I think they just see it when they get to the chopper.
Okay, well, that's fine. Eat an edible.
See, okay, well, when I looked at this, too, like, it says eat lots of bread, and then it says eat an edible, and I think when I looked at it, like, they're in the same spot. I almost feel like that's a continuity error.
No, I think this is because it's something from her imagination, so it doesn't necessarily have to... It's fluid. Like, the list changed based on her, like, persona... There's no such thing as facts, Tom. Eat an edible, steal a centerpiece, because they make a comment about steal a centerpiece as they're walking in. She's like, oh, steal a centerpiece. But then when you see the list, steal a centerpiece is not on there. So I just think,
I see what you're saying.
I think there's some, like, I don't know, fun Zoe, normal Zoe. Maybe they have different lists and those things like flow in and out.
I like that idea.
Do an activity I've never done before. That's what she points out for the helicopter. Effortlessly chug a light beer. And this whole list was torn in half because the Uber driver, I guess, saw it and judged her, and then she carries around a roll of tape, which
and she's
I guess
a teacher.
The teachers do. Does your mom carry around a roll of tape?
Yep, roll of tape and stick of glue, always.
Roll of tape and stick of glue.
And a little packet of glitter.
Great. And this is the moment where we come back to the present, and Danner is watching Zoe spin back and forth in her chair, like doing the voices, like fun Zoe and then normal Zoe, and she explains it as she is...
it was like dramatizing her inner conflict.
Dramatizing internal conflict. And
that was funny. You had to laugh at that, right?
That was funny. Danner's funny. She's like, do I need to be worried about this? Like, she's like, no, I'm just doing... Do I need to be worried about that? Like, and this is then when Anik comes in and drops his phone off. What I did not need from this show is, and I don't know, shows, I guess, assume we're dumb. Like, you see him put his phone down.
Yes.
But then he leaves the room, and they have to do a cut and show us him leaving his phone. And, and you're like, I don't need that. I saw he was... And for those people that don't notice it, they don't deserve to know. That's secrets for us that pay attention.
Well, I would say that on like a regular show, yeah, you probably need to do that just to like remind the audience of what happened. And granted, it just happened seconds ago because they cut and then show it. But I think for this show, I agree. They shouldn't have done that because this is like a detective show. The idea is you're supposed to be paying attention to the details.
Right.
And like if he said he put his phone there, hit rewind and go back and look at it yourself. You shouldn't have to be, shown the idea. And I think that's in general just like the idea of like, I don't mean to like disperse here, but like good television versus bad television is like showing, not telling kind of a thing. Like you shouldn't have to like tell it and like you don't necessarily have to show us that he did this because you already did.
Good. Yeah, I can see you hate this episode too. Good. I've got you back. Jasper and Anik are listening to his phone. And the phone is dying, which we've all been. We all have lived this nightmare before.
He makes a quick mention to him, like when Jasper's phone is like under, I think at that point it was like 15% or something. He kind of says like, how do you live? Like, are you a psycho?
How do you live, yeah.
Which I thought like was kind of a quick throwaway line. Like, again, Jasper's still at the top of my list in terms of potential murderer. And the fact that his best friend is calling him a psycho, even if it's kind of like backhanded, it's kind of interesting.
Oh, okay. So you think he's capable of taking a life simply because he doesn't always keep his phone above 30%?
Not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that even
That's
his
what I heard,
close friend.
and that's what I'm going to believe, because truth is relative. So that's what I'm going to believe.
Okay.
My truth is that that's what you said.
Fair enough.
All right. They go and try and find a charger. Is this the point where they both put in an earbud and they like separate, it beeps, and they come back together?
Yeah, we got to do this together.
And listen, just let me watch Jasper and Anik pal around, and then like let Danner ask questions. Those are the things I enjoy most about this show.
Yeah.
It's kind of like let Ted and Beard talk, you know? Let them cook.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, she runs into Brett back in the cartoon land. They start talking, and then Brett just does the
fart noise.
and she's like, that's what he sounds like. He sounds like...
Oh, so you met him.
Yeah, so you met him.
I do appreciate the animation, though. It literally just changes his face to a big butt.
Yeah. You couldn't do that not in a cartoon, right? You can't make a person's face into a butt.
Dude,
in real life.
they were doing that in like Ren and Stimpy days. You can do that.
Ren and Snow, there's a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw it. I did protest its production when I was younger, though.
Oh, did you? You
Um,
want to expand?
no,
Elaborate?
not at all.
Okay. It's another change.org position.
Yeah.
It was your first change.org petition
yeah.
before it was a thing.
But you had to go on church Reddit boards in order to really get them canceled. Anyways, she runs into Anik. Anik's adorable according to her, but Fun Zoe does not like Anik.
No, you didn't have time for it.
No. Did you notice? So one thing I caught in this one's Fun Zoe wears the leather jacket, and normal Zoe wears the normal dress, which I commented on in like the second episode. But then I went back, and I'm pretty sure she's in the leather jacket and everything. So
I think it was like fishnet stockings or whatever. I think that was the Brett
That was the
episode. She had like
change,
fishnet.
right?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
think Brett was trying to make her more like rock star, if you will,
anyways, I think I'm going to get a red leather jacket.
to match your brown,
Brown
your black
leather jacket,
Okay.
yeah.
You never have too many leather jackets, especially for somebody who lives in Arizona.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Fun Zoe doesn't like Anik, and she wants to smash mouths with something. Was this a subtle reference to the best band that's ever played music?
Hey man, you're an all-star.
Smash Mouth?
Yep.
Name one other song.
Nope.
Yeah, we got him.
I know. There's got to be one or two others, right?
Oh, sure. There's the Shrek one.
Was that them?
Somebody...
I think it was All-Star.
Or is that All-Star?
I think it's All-Star.
All right. Hey, write us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Please let us know all your favorite Smash Mouth songs. We'll read them on air. And now for traffic. She doesn't keep up with the gens. Oh, she goes in to get her name tag and she finds out they're all pregnant. So they must not be that close. Like, is that...
No, and I don't think, like, they were probably high school chums, if you will. And then at this point, you assume they follow each other on social media kind of a deal.
Tom, our only friends are high school chums.
I know, but we like our high school chums.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I like you. She walks into the auditorium and we get this weird, like, everyone looks at her sad. And I was like, okay, so everyone knows she's going through a divorce, and this is all of them feeling sad that she's going through a divorce.
I'm wondering if it's just like, because, yeah, we don't know how, like, public this divorce is or this
Everyone
potential
knows, apparently.
affair. Yeah.
That's what this scene paints for me.
Yeah, like everybody like changes to puppy dog eyes and they're looking at her weird. But the assumption is that, you know, if it's probably somebody that just had a divorce, like it's probably not a big deal. But it's the fact that it's Chelsea and Brett, like all three people that everybody here at the high school reunion know and probably know of some of the dynamic back in high school. That's why they're probably maybe looking at her a little bit more strangely than somebody else that just has a divorce.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I've been desensitized by Michelle Lasso, but I don't know that divorce is something that everyone gets real sad about for like a high school acquaintance. I don't know.
Probably not.
Anyways, people should just stay together until they die. I'd like to go on record.
Oh, you've been on record multiple times.
Oh, all right. Well, Walt is singing at this time. I tried to look up the lyrics to this.
Oh, this wasn't a real song.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I thought maybe it was. So I spent some time on, as you like to call it, the Google machine, and I came up with no answers. But I'm sure my algorithm's all wrong because I searched things like, what, Tom?
It's like, Going to the club and having sex. The DJ is my pillow and the music's my bed.
I don't know. I for sure thought there was a dumb song out there that he was singing.
I mean, I think it's just like, I don't know if this was actually him saying it, if this is Zoe just like putting this on him, but like just him being alone and him listening to music and pretending the pillow is his DJ and the bed is the music. Like, it's just, again, more laughing at Walt, but just not giving us anything to like feel sorry for him. It's
well, so this is Zoe's recall. So as she walked up on stage, she was like, some guy I don't know his name was singing, and this was what he was saying. I wasn't paying attention. But we saw Walt singing at one point. Do we know he was actually singing? I didn't go back.
I didn't know. He was singing something different than what he was singing here. He was not singing this. I think in his deal or whatever other one, I think it was a real song. This one is, I think, just parody.
I would like to say that I felt like this show would do the thing where we see like repeats of what happens in terms of like, obviously when there are several witnesses to events, it's like a proven thing that they tell slightly different versions.
Yep.
In all of these retelling, it's they never like speak the same language. There's not like, hey, when she said this, like, and I think it's evident when like they run into Chelsea in the hallway. Like everyone's version of that interaction, those people that were there, is very different than like Chelsea's own. And, well, maybe it's not, because Anik's and Zoe's is very similar.
I think it just depends on it depends on the scene, it depends on the character, because like certain scenes for certain characters are going to be much more memorable. But if it's somebody else that you don't like care about, or like whatever, like Brett's run-ins with Chelsea, he didn't care. Like Brett just saw her as like a drunk or whatever, and like what she was saying to him, like I don't think he cared. But because this was car noises, but because like Zoe and Chelsea running into each other because of their like history and like the affair and all that kind of stuff, like that interaction is likely more truthful in terms of how it went down. Would be my assumption, because it's more impactful for that character.
I'll give you an example, and I'm with you. No one else witnesses Jasper sing a single song, and Jasper's whole episode was songs. Yeah. So Jasper's a liar and a murderer. That's the conclusion. Speaking of liars and murderers, Zoe's singing Cher, I believe, if I could turn back time.
Yep, classic.
Okay, I only know that because we talked about it in another episode.
Did you finally go back and watch the music video?
I think you made me watch it, where she's on the Navy ship.
Yep.
And she's wearing an outfit that I can only be described as, back in the day, I would have protested that outfit on the church Reddit boards or
it's like the Borat bathing suit.
Oh, I've never seen Borat, but I know what you're talking about. Anik, if we get a piece of Anik's rap, which is great, his cartoon rap about everyone be responsible. And Zoe likes Anik's rap, but Fun Zoe wants a sexy rock star.
Yeah, and we see Xavier come in with his ridiculous animation.
Oh, yeah, looked terrible. He looked like a Disney cartoon. Then we're back in the present, and Anik is like, because he's listening to this whole retelling. He's like, I thought she was singing to me. The whole if I could turn back time thing.
And this happened before, right? Didn't we get another thing where like Anik kind of like said like,
he's like, I thought I was competing, or he was competing with me, and I wasn't. We weren't competing at all. So yeah. And that's probably because Anik was on drugs this whole time, or on cat tranquilizers. So I'm not surprised his recollection is a little bit different than all the other ones he has to listen to. We're back in the Mine movie, and Xavier is trying to figure out the character laugh for his next big role.
What do you think his next big role is?
I'm assuming it is Yahtzee 2. You yachts to be kidding me, or whatever he says, whatever.
You got to be kidding me.
As people that recently played Yahtzee, Tom, what's a Yahtzee movie about? Is this like a Jumanji spinoff, but they're just chased by dice?
They roll the dice and then they get sucked in. I don't know.
The red cup.
The red cup of doom. I don't think there's any possible.
All right, well, take your time. We're not going to get off the subject until you give us a hard 30 of a synopsis of what a Yahtzee movie looks like.
I do like what they did here, though, because it's like I think it was out of Anik's perspective. He looks at the table, and in his mind movie, he sees them laughing. His assumption is, oh, they're having a good time. They're like getting along and all this, but it's not. It's literally Xavier just trying to like fake laugh and her doing a fake laugh. So it's like, it's all fake.
So my question is Xavier purposefully doing this so that like he's like whoever's watching is going to see Zoe and I having a fun time, or is he really working on the laugh for Yahtzee too? And I bring this up because you make a great point, because you're like, hey, from other people's perspective, Zoe's yucking it up with Xavier. I think about Michael Scott leading the meeting, and he's like, hey, let's just all start by clapping, because he wants people that are looking from the outside to think they're clapping for him.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, let's just clap to get things started. That's what I thought about when this happened.
I like the idea. My only thing would be, I don't think Xavier is that smart, or like is thinking
Guy's
any
a
further.
Media mogul. He's got to have some. You're right. He is really dumb. No, but good point. He laughs like the hyenas from Lion King.
That's what I assumed he was practicing for.
Yeah.
Lion King too.
Yeah. Jasper comes in and steals Xavier away. That's when Anik sits down, and he makes Zoe laugh for real. Mm-hmm. I hope these kids wind up together as murderers. The Brett and Zoe slideshow begins, and that was pretty funny. She's like, I am not ready for this. They jump back to the present. Jasper's trying to talk Anik up. He's like, listen, man, you're coming off like sensitive and amazing. He's doing what a good friend would do, which is when your friend makes a mistake, try and pretend like they didn't make a mistake, or don't look foolish.
Yeah, find the good in the mistake.
Sure. They then find a charger, which is on a bookshelf, and I couldn't help but look at the books on the bookshelf.
Yeah, what did you find?
Okay, so Wicked Prey is a John Sanford book, and I want to say I've read this book.
Oh, yeah?
On like, you ever been on vacation where they have like a bookshelf at the hotel or whatever, and it's like take it, read it, leave it, whatever, or like swap one out? This is like a very generic, like hard-nosed detective novel where he's a guy that like he created some sort of software, so he's a millionaire, but he's also a detective.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have like bills to pay, but he also gets to solve crime. It's one of those like clever authors like, how do I get him not have to do the normal things in life, but also he can be cool and solve crime. Yeah, that's Wicked Prey. Nice. If I'm wrong, you can write me at
Team Bitch Podcast, or do you want me to give you your personal?
No. I was going to give a fake one because I don't want to know. But Team Binge Podcast at gmail.com works, or at Team Binge on Twitter. Nope. Anyways, the other one is Insurgent, which is
That was the only one I noticed because that was like the gold like lettering almost. It kind of shined on screen.
So it's a young adult dystopian.
Dystopian.
There it is. Yeah, I got there.
Dystopian.
I can spell it, but I can't say it.
Dystopian is a knockoff vacuum brand.
That's right. Yeah, that's very true. And the Insurgent was turned into a movie, and it stars one former fiance to Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, what is her name?
It doesn't matter because Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know if I care as much about Aaron Rodgers.
I don't care about Aaron Rodgers either. She's actually a really good actress. She was in a movie, and I'm going to insert this in robot voice, where she is stuck on a boat that is sailing between like Hawaii and somewhere.
Oh,
and
it's the Dorian guy from 50 Shades of Grey. She was stuck on a boat with that guy, right?
No, she's stuck on the guy that's in X-Men. He plays like Beast in X-Men.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
Let's just keep trying to figure this out. All right, I got her name. It's Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley.
Didn't even need robot voice.
Why do you have Getty Detective Novel in here?
Oh, you wrote it down, man.
I wrote Getty Detective Novel?
Apparently.
Oh.
Do you need to cut this?
Gritty. Ha! I was supposed to say gritty. Yeah, I'm cutting all this. I wrote down minute 28. I'll clean all this up.
The movie was Adrift.
Adrift.
The gentleman that she was on the ship with was Sam Claflin, who plays Richard Sharp. I don't think he was Beast. She was in Mockingjay. She was in the Hunger Games movies. Or not she was, he was. Sorry, all this is going to be cut out.
He's Phineas.
Phineas in Hunger Games.
Phineas, yeah.
Phineas and Ferb in Hunger Games, yep.
We got there.
Have fun editing that.
Oh, that's going to be terrible. Should we just start from the top?
It's up to you.
It doesn't matter. I'll fix it. Gen 1 asked them not to unplug her phone.
Yeah,
and
because the phone was at 28%, I think, and they have
what is the number that you're not allowed to unplug someone's phone at?
They say 30.
I think that's too low.
You think that's too low?
I wouldn't unplug someone's phone at 30. I wouldn't unplug someone's phone, but I'm just a polite individual.
I feel, I mean, I guess 30 is as good a number as any. But yeah, I do appreciate the back and forth, and like he's got 5. It's like, oh, this is an emergency. I've got 5, whatever. But
she's like, Gen 2, maybe dead and alone, and they're like, all right. I guess it depends on what time of day it is. Like if this is, you feel like you're going to be home in time to plug your phone in, but something tells me these guys have no idea when they're going to be done at this house. So.
I don't think I ever have that issue. I charge my phone every night. I feel like I go to bed, my phone's probably got about 60%. I'm fine.
Well, that's because you always have the best phones.
It's true,
and
man.
I have an Apple phone where they put a program on there where the battery slowly gets worse and worse and worse.
After 2 years.
And one day I'm going to get my $2 from that
class action.
From that class action lawsuit. The Mind movie, we're back with Anik and Zoe. They're discussing her mural.
We have a real nice like back and forth here. We're kind of like Anik is like being very like Anik and kind and well-hearted.
Yeah. Chelsea shows up. She's a hot mess. So in this recalling, she is drunk. And hers, she like purposefully got rid of Anik. And this one, she just comes off as intoxicated.
And this is where we get Tiny Rage Zoe.
Tiny Rage Zoe.
Pops out of her eye and just goes hog wild on Chelsea.
I guess, so she doesn't get violent with Chelsea, but she must like yell at her? What is the real life equivalent of Tiny Rage Zoe? Like what happens here? Because Tiny Rage Zoe jumps on Chelsea and real Zoe leaves, but really that's a representation of something.
Well, Chelsea in her Mind movie says like they actually do have a back and forth and Zoe's like it just doesn't want to talk to her. I bet it's like a little bit of both where they probably do have a bit of a conversation and Zoe does not want to talk to Chelsea, but probably does do a little like get super angry and like kind of yells at her, like very sternly says like leave us alone, and then they leave. But yeah, I don't think she created a cloud of cartoon dust and then
beat her, beat her
senseless.
The cops would probably have issue with that. They go and get some drug gummies. Zoe takes the whole one, and Anik very casually bites the smallest bit of the gummy bear.
He bites the toe off the gummy bear.
Listen, the only time you ever don't put the whole gummy bear in your mouth is when you're biting off a part of the gummy bear to bite a different part off another gummy bear and to form a Frankenstein gummy bear.
Ooh, a mega gummy bear.
That is the only time you're allowed to not put the whole gummy bear in your mouth. You can at me at Julian Team Binge something podcast Gmail. Boom.
I do appreciate that Anik is like, so are kids still bringing throwing stars and rubber members to school?
And there's a picture of him. That's great.
Was that a thing? Was like the kids bring shuriken to school?
No, I don't remember. No.
We weren't in the locker rooms where they were bringing the rubber members.
Throwing stars seem more likely to me. I can tell you I once worked a job at an industrial plant, and the porta-john on site had a rubber member in it one morning during the shift, and guess who had to remove it?
Uh-oh.
This guy. And I still think about it.
Low on the totem pole, man. Sorry.
I wasn't that low on the totem pole.
Well, you should have told somebody else to do it.
Well, part of me, anyways.
Part of you wanted to.
We won't get into that. Stoner Zoe appears on the bleacher, and she gets very flower child. And Anik is like, oh, you're really high. And then he starts talking about like why he likes escape rooms, but escape rooms. It's like, oh, they make people feel helpless, and then
ultimately, like everybody can rise above it, and they can get out of it. They can escape. Apparently, except for the Minnesota Vikings, they apparently suck at escape rooms.
Was this a shot at Kirk Cousins? Do you think? Who was this a shot at?
Dante Culpepper, definitely.
Dante Culpepper. Oh man. I'm going to go on record and say Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback, and I'm glad he's on the Vikings. I hope he sticks around for a real long time. You're welcome, Barrett.
Again, this is a Barrett podcast.
Anik admits that he had a crush on her. They have a moment. They go in for a kiss. And then who ruins all kisses? Tom?
Kids.
Children do. And if my children are listening to this in 10 years, it's the truth. I'm not apologizing. I love you both. Maggie shows up, and Mama Bear Zoe comes out. What'd you think of the animation for Mama Bear Zoe?
I like the idea of the Mama Bear Zoe just gets gigantic, and the fact that it's like still growling, but then it gives us subtitles.
Yeah, that's great.
Where it's like, watch my human child while I find it, eat him. It's just good.
And then we go back to the present, and Danner wants to know. All the detective in her wants to know the most important thing about this case. Would she have kissed Anik?
Well, first she says, like, yeah, it establishes, like, your mindset or whatever.
Frame of mind.
Yeah, so she gives it a little bit, like, okay, I need to know this as a detective, but, like, more so she's like, I just kind of want to know.
I just want to know. That's great. She's great. I enjoyed Danner 100%.
Tiffany Haddish is fantastic and everything.
Wonderful. So the question, Tom, would she have kissed Anik?
Yeah, of course she would.
Yeah, I think so, too. I don't think there's much mystery here.
Nope. Solved. Detective and Gumshoe at the case.
That's right.
We did it.
Anik and Jasper are in the hall, and they think Culp is following them, which he is. Anik's trying to hear, and then they discover the wall of props. And the only prop I recognized was... Oh, this is where he talks about the Yahtzee movie.
Yes, this is the Yahtzee
as well
dice.
As his safari hat.
Yep. There's also a... I don't know if you caught this. There's a... like bust of, not a bust, but there's like a little
go on. What about a bust?
There's like a dummy head that like is supposed to like hold like a wig or something like that.
Okay.
And there's nothing on it. So again, I feel like there is a wig that has to come into play. We've got 2 episodes left.
Well, there's a blonde wig found on the beach.
That's what I'm saying, right? So I still think that if that was on the memorabilia wall or the prop wall, I think that was his Private Eyes Hall & Oates movie wig, because we've seen him in movie posters kind of wearing this blonde wig that's, I think, somebody put on to try to pretend that they were somebody else. Again, we haven't gotten...
Do you think Channing Tatum is the murderer?
I don't think it was Channing Tatum. I think Channing Tatum was Oates, so he had the brown hair, and Hall was Xavier, who had the blonde hair.
Okay, so you think someone
Chardonnay
put on
hair.
a long blonde wig...
Somebody had to put on a wig to like hide themselves from this potential murder, right? Somebody had the motive to put that on, because else. But I'm with you. We've talked about this before. There's no other blonde people in this movie, so I don't think this person is trying to frame anybody. They're just throwing the scent off of themselves.
Okay. All right. Yahtzee the movie. I can't get over how much I want to watch Yahtzee. I want to watch Dave Franco and Yahtzee the movie. I hope Will
Arnett,
not Arnett,
Forte.
Will Forte is in it with him. Or Channing Tatum, or Will Arnett. I'll take Will Arnett. Then they discover the panic room. Did you look what was in the panic room, Tom?
Yeah, but I want to just reel this back real quick. Who discovered the panic room?
Yeah, Yahtzee did.
Oh, okay. Jasper did. Okay.
Jasper Yahtzee did.
Interesting.
As they call him.
That Mr. Jasper knows
Man, you're
not
all
only
over
how
him.
to get into this panic room, also mysteriously just finds a red button.
Does he find it or does Anik find it?
Nope, he finds it. He's like, hey, look, there's a button.
No. Jasper, I've mentioned, and you've brought us
more and more
too
suspicious.
much about this house.
Yeah.
He just knows way too much.
Yep.
Like, he's been there more than the 4 hours he charged Xavier for.
Yep.
Gas mask and toilet paper. That's what's all in. Xavier was 100% a panic buy toilet paper guy during the pandemic. And there's also a radio, which I thought was interesting. And we discover security cameras that you can see, not sound, but footage throughout the facility. And Jasper does make the point, like, oh, this was the one room we weren't allowed in. So he knew it existed.
Yes. Well, maybe he looked at the floor plan and saw that it existed, but didn't go in. Like, there is no real justification for this. I feel like he might have just, like, slipped up kind of a thing.
You've known me for how many years, and you don't know where my panic room is in this house?
No, and I pull every one of your books off the shelf every time I come here.
Yes, you do. It's super annoying. It takes us hours to put them back. Because we use the Dewey Decimal System, and we've got to put them in order. Dewey, damn you. Can you read lips?
Oh, yes, of course I can. Do you want me to do it right now? I love his attempt to read lips. He's like, okay, my teeth. I like broth. My aunt's got weird floppies.
Weird floppies! Because she's like moving her hands over her chest. My hand's got weird floppies. All right, this episode is kind of funny.
The hamburger helper glove. Just give me a second. I can do it.
He's like, just admit you can't read lips.
That was great.
That was wonderful. We're back in the mine movie. Brett takes Maggie. Xavier takes Zoe on a helicopter, and this is once again where we see the modified list or Fun Zoe's version of the list. I don't know. Xavier in the flight over offers to let her do the album cover, and what he wants is, imagine a tiger and the fur is made of money and it's held by a hot baby. And I was like, all right. This
is again, it was like, it's fun in cartoon because like the way they pop,
Right.
like, oh, it's a tiger. Okay, this looks kind of cool. And there's money. And like, this is just stupider and stupider. And the baby's got a tattoo of him on the side of his head or his face or whatever. But like, while he's kind of telling this, they're doing like the helicopters kind of going over. And if you pause it, there's all these different billboards. Some of the billboards are just kind of stupid. But one of them says, I think it was really funny. It says, another of those cloaked Easter eggs.
Oh, like, that's what it said?
Yeah, it said, and it literally has Easter eggs on the billboard.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's just funny. It's just kind of poking fun at like people like us that are pausing to see what's going on here, and it's like they're literal Easter eggs.
We know what you're doing. Like, hey, you're welcome.
Yeah.
We're in on it.
Funny.
That's fun. Then they're on the balcony of his room. We discovered that they were in plays together, which I don't know if we knew this. Did we know that Zoe was performing? We know she's an artist. Forgive me.
She's an artist.
She's an artist, obviously. But
yeah, apparently did Bye Bye Birdie together.
Bye Bye Birdie. Tom, what are your thoughts on Bye Bye Birdie? I'll give you at least 15 minutes.
I mean, I prefer to not let things go. I'm not going to say bye.
Right, so when the birdie goes by.
When the birdie goes bye-bye, I got sad.
That's kind of when you turn it off.
I like when the birdies come, hello.
Sure.
Yeah. That's my preference. But I know you're a connoisseur of...
Yeah, no. I mean, I like golf-centric media as much as the next guy. I love golf plays. So Bye Bye Birdie is obviously one of my favorite ones, second only to Hole in One.
Now, little known fact, this was actually going to be an NSYNC song, but then they changed it to Bye 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 instead of Bye Bye Birdie because they realized Birdie was already taken.
I think a real miss.
Yeah.
All right, we'll cut all that. Xavier starts singing a new song, which...
Oh, man.
Was it all gold? Was it all bronze? I don't know. But listening to him do that, I was like, if I was in a room with someone who did that, I would not know where to look. I
got over being under you. Are you into being under me?
Turn your headphones up, people.
You were out of my league, but now you're into my heart.
Incredible. Man, when I edit this, I'm auto-tuning your voice, and I'm going to turn that
I don't think you need to, bro. That was gold.
No, I don't need to, but to make it, like, sound bad like Xavier's. I don't want it to sound too good.
I love how he just, like, he says one thing, and then he just gets in his head, like, oh, I've got to record this. Yeah. Starts his phone. Just lovely. And thank you for letting me, serenade our audience.
No, thank you. Thank you. I want to say this. So typically famous people have like an entourage. Do you find it strange that Xavier does not have an entourage? He arrives alone. Is this just like, is he just still someone no one wants to hang out with even though he's rich and famous? Do you feel like he's just not inviting his entourage because it's the high school reunion? Like, I feel like he should have a turtle. He should have a E. He should have a, I'll get there.
Okay.
He should have,
Matt Dillon.
Hey.
Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon?
Yeah, that's the one that plays the other one.
Oh, okay.
I think the name you're trying to think of.
And he should have Turkey, I'm
or
assuming?
Maybe it's not Matt Dillon. Maybe it's his brother. One of the Dillons.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Turkey. No, but I agree. That's a fair point. I think we've seen throughout this series that he is not a likable person, but that doesn't necessarily stop any sort of entourage because they're generally getting paid or enjoy the lifestyle hanging out with a super rich guy. So, yeah, I think we'll just say... Maybe for the show's sake, they didn't want to have to bring in an entourage because they needed him to be alone in a bunch of sequences and that kind of jazz. But I don't know if I was part of his entourage of going to their high school reunion would be top of my list.
Yeah. I agree with you that he's not likable, but I mean, he gets people, and I think we see it in this scene because he's like, listen, the art cover, that was just a way for you to get you into my bedroom. People feel awkward asking me to make love to them, so I wanted to give you an excuse. He's like he's caring, you know? He's like selfless, I would say.
Selfless.
Would probably be.
Okay. That's a word.
Yeah, he's a real D-bag. Look that one up, kids. Xavier tries to kiss her in the lustful way.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? The tongue, allow me to demonstrate, Tom. I demonstrated for those of you that are watching on YouTube.
But that's like Danner mentioned that earlier, right? Like, how did he come at you?
Oh, he likes you if he comes like that. Oh, he just wants to get in you, I believe, was the phrasing.
Yeah, it was.
Look that up, kids. Brett charges in. Brett knocks over the shrimp, which Xavier gets upset about, and then he charges into the room.
Yep.
We come to the present, and the phone is at 2%. And then they discover what, Tom?
We discover the red button, and
The red button.
our boy Jasper discovers it again, being super sketch.
He's very well informed on the infrastructure of this house.
Yeah.
Tom, if you had a panic room, what would you put in your panic room? Other than Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
Kristen Stewart.
She in Panic Room?
I'm pretty sure she's the kid in Panic Room, isn't she?
She is the kid in Panic Room. Wow.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't think I'd put either of them in my Panic Room.
Yeah, good, because that's more of a murder room and less of a panic room. Not that we have anything against them.
I would put, I guess, the non-perishable foods that you need, like some applesauce.
Okay.
Like applesauce, maybe some pudding.
Sure.
Maybe a television.
Okay.
I don't need security cameras. If I'm in that Panic Room, I'm not leaving.
Right. You don't want to see what's on the outside.
Gave up on life.
You're like those people that like go into the bunker because they think the world's going to end. They appear 3 years later and the world was just fine and they wasted 3 years of their life.
Yep.
All right. So we find your corpse in your Panic Room.
Correct.
Wonderful.
I will not last very long on pudding and applesauce.
Detective Culp. Detective Culp has not played a big part in this show, but I did appreciate this moment with him. But it's it's Jasper and Anik just being themselves.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you guys listening to? You both have earbuds in, huh?" And then they've got to do the thing where they pretend like they're listening to the same music. I thought that was funny.
I liked it.
But here's what I don't get. Because Jasper turns his phone off, right?
Once they leave the room. Or they leave the Panic Room.
Culp's like, let me listen to what you're listening. He gives him the earbud, and then Jasper's like, my phone just died. It was at 2%. Mm-hmm. Because Culp can't hear anything on the phone. So I'm assuming the phone died, or he turned it off, right?
I think he mentions that he turns the phone off. But it cuts to Jasper, and I think it's showing us that he's turning his phone off. Like, it's at 2%, but
Here's my issue, Tom. The only reason they are listening to Anik's phone right now is because Anik called Jasper. Mm-hmm. Once that phone turns off, ferns too, but mainly phones, once that phone turns off, that call is disconnected. And the only way for them to listen into that room again would be to call Anik's phone and someone to answer Anik's phone.
Do they listen in anymore after this?
Yeah, they listen to the rest of it.
When? I think this is it. I don't think they listen to any more. I think everything else is just Zoe and Danner.
Cut this.
Cut this. Because, it doesn't make sense, though. If the Bluetooth disconnected and they can't hear while they're in the Panic Room, then the phone call would have disconnected as well. So if they would have left the room and somehow the phone call was still going, but, the Bluetooth then kicked back in.
I'm pretty sure they continue the episode with the earphones in their ear listening after this. I'll go back. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay. Wait, Tom? $5 bet. $5 bet.
No, I'm not confident, so I'm only putting bets when I'm confident.
I have lost so much money to you during the course of this podcast. You're not going to give me one for sure.
I'll give you a $5 bet because I'm not positive, but I'm also
mind.
not.
You know what? I'm not going to take your money from you.
I'll get half of it
probably
anyways.
Wrong. Half of it anyways. Culp is like, I have a charger. And they're like, why wouldn't we ask a cop in our time of need? I don't know, because of all the history. real anti-police vibes going on in this show.
It was.
I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah,
anyways.
police are good people. Some of them. Some of them.
We don't paint with broad brush strokes here on the Team Binge podcast. Oh no. We're in trouble, Tom. We're back in the mine movie. Brett is apologizing to... she's like, he did something I'd never expect him to do. And he's like, hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that. I've got some Brett in me when it comes to apologizing. I'm not good enough for you. He's like, I'm going to earn back your trust. And then he's immediately lies. He's like, oh, is that a turkey or an eagle? And then he escapes.
I mean, it's definitely an eagle, right? I
No,
mean, it had to have been an eagle.
it was an eagle.
Yeah. I do appreciate that. In Zoe's retelling, she says that he says that. Wasn't it his retelling where he says, like, I pooped my pants?
I pooped my pants.
That's his
and
retelling.
She goes, again?
Yeah. Like, it's a bold choice to... That's how you present the story.
Well, maybe she's trying to protect his dignity.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Culp tries to help Danner because he's like, hey, they're listening. I don't know how they're listening, but they're listening in. Mm-hmm. Danner rejects him, and so he snitches to the captain.
Which I think is like, I mean, I don't know if it's fair for like Culp to like do this snitching behind her back.
Culp's on the hook right now, right? He's not supposed to be there either.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's doing anything wrong.
And I don't know why Danner was like so dismissive. Like you figured like as detectives they'd be working together to try to solve this case, but she's doing it all herself and really not bringing Danner or Culp into the mix at all.
No, Culp's job is to find Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3.
Yeah, he's just Roundup Patrol.
And form them together in the Voltron. We're back in the mine movie. Anika's drunk and playing guitar. And she's like, why do they always bring guitars? And she's like, oh, because we like guys with
like
guitars.
It. Yeah.
And then Anik promptly passes out, shatters the guitar, and throws up, I think.
Yeah, throws up first, I think, and then passes out. But like in this version, he pulls down his own pants and then passes out. So
as one does.
Yeah. Again, I still think Xavier was the one that probably pulled his pants down, if that's what he did in the St. Patrick's Day after party thing that we saw, or just regular party.
I mean, you know this. This was my yearbook quote. It's what I've got crafted for my headstone. If you're going to pass out, pull your own pants down. That way, when you wet yourself, you don't wet your pants.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah,
that's smart. Well done. Always a thinker, this guy.
That's where my mind grapes are at. We get the all of Zoe party montage. So she's like, oh, we could be all of us. And it's like the bear and the crazy little Zoe, like
the
rage monster. All of them like doing Jaeger shots. And
I like the idea of this because like everything that she was trying to do in terms of like all her different personalities, like, oh, we're going to hook up with Xavier, we're gonna hook up with this guy. Like nothing just worked or panned out like how she wanted it for the day. So she's like, as opposed to just tucking in and leaving or whatever, I'm gonna have some fun. Sure. And all of these different personalities are gonna come out, and we're gonna do everything else on this list.
Right. And I mean, anytime Turn Back Time plays, unless it's on a naval ship during the Gulf War, I'm in. She shoots the arrow that almost kills Chelsea.
Yikes!
I thought that was interesting. You didn't ask me what was in my panic room. One crossbow and one arrow.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it? That's all you need?
You're going to find my corpse as well.
Okay.
Gen
it's a bold way to go out.
Not on purpose. Okay. It's going to be deflected off the wall.
Okay, yeah, you'll just be playing with it.
Oh, got shot. Got shot. Gen 2.
Comes around the corner. And then just gives Zoe a big hug, and then just starts like seemingly going back to kind of like high school and saying like, "Oh, I was the one doing all these mean things to Chelsea."
Oh, that's right. We're in real time now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. This is cartoon.
No. This isn't a cartoon.
This is cartoon. This is still cartoon.
They look so lifelike.
I know, right? But yeah, so she's telling her that she was the one that was texting Chelsea all night, which boom, I called it.
You got it.
Thank you very much.
Give him all the internet points.
However, before I give myself the internet points...
We're giving you the internet points.
Thank you, internet and Julian. Do you think this might be Zoe kind of like deflecting and saying it is Gen 2 that sent these, and it might have actually been Zoe sending them all, and she's laying this all on Gen 2? Because what we know from the text messages... Blowing your mind? I'll let your mind heal. Okay.
Dang it. I could have gotten longer, but you made me laugh.
Like in the text messages, like they correct where they like send the little follow-up text message that
Okay.
corrects that spelling.
Okay.
And we've seen that
Because she's a
she's a
10-year
teacher.
teacher.
She has that in her. We've seen like the rage monster kind of niche in her, where she like goes like really hardcore at people. She's obviously a teacher. She likely knows how some of these kids do like these texting things and all that stuff to like kind of hide your
like
number.
Jackson with an X?
with an X. So I don't know. There may not be more to this, but I just thought that could be interesting if it actually was Zoe sending the text and she's kind of using this as a ruse to kind of throw Gen 2 under the bus.
Listen, we said Zoe in the first episode.
Yeah.
So if Zoe's right, I can go back and erase everything else we guessed during this podcast, and we'll be right from the get-go.
Do you think there was anything interesting of her saying that her kid is Jackson with an X? Like, is this like Xavier's love child, maybe?
Listen, that might be, but I think it's just like people that name their kid Jackson with an X are a little bit obnoxious.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I think Jackson was on one of our lists of names, but not with an X, with a Q. No, I'm with you. That's an interesting point. Anything that has an X in it, I'm assuming Xavier is touched in some way. Certainly most of the exits in the house.
Did you notice at some points when they were drinking like booze, I think it was the Zoe's like all of her different personalities, the booze they're drinking is that like Xavier booze. What was it called?
Oh, I don't know what it was called, but no, I didn't notice. That's great.
Yeah.
I assumed it was Jaeger, but that's funny. Zoe doesn't want any help from Gen 2. She wants to chat with Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea apologizes. They have a moment. And then Scape Diem awakens Anik.
Yes.
The one fact that everyone knows is that Scape Diem awakens Anik.
Agreed.
I want to think that at Anik's home, Scape Diem plays on his alarm clock like he did a pre-recorded thing. So he wakes up to it. So that's kind of a Pavlov reaction. That's how that works, right?
It's just smart, yeah.
Otherwise known as an alarm clock. Then Xavier dies.
Well,
someone screams, right? Someone screams.
It's the same screams we've already established, where it's Anik screaming up in the room because he sees his face. It's Gen 1 and Ned on the balcony screaming because they look over and they see him. So I think we don't know exactly pinpoint time frame when he actually died. But he's discovered at this point.
Jen and Ned are on the lower balcony. So
yes.
My gut is they can't be the killers because he falls from the bedroom balcony, right?
I mean, again, we don't know what the timing is.
Well, my issue here is, like, the main balcony is within, like, eyesight of the living room. There's a bunch of people. If they tossed him off that balcony, people would notice.
No, I agree.
I'm pretty sure he falls off of his bedroom balcony.
Yes.
So Ned and Gen 2 or 1 are innocent.
No, I still think we do not know the time that he fell. All the screaming and all this
stuff. He could have been killed much earlier than this.
Yes, absolutely. So we talked about this before. Like when Brett went up there, when he was up there by himself and talking to him. Like the idea of the show is like, okay, they are alone. They are up here in this room. This could have been the point, because we also haven't really established a timeline in terms of who was the last person to see Xavier alive. And I'm sure that's just the show being the show. They can't tell us exactly who, because then that would allow us to eliminate Brett. Because if Brett was up in the room and afterwards Zoe was up in the room, then we don't know time-wise.
Here's one for you. The text stopped coming to Chelsea after Xavier is killed. Who disappears when Xavier is killed? Gen 2. Gen 2 is the killer. You know who's not the killer? Ned. If Ned is the killer, I will rent my clothes and cover my forehead in ash. I refuse to believe that Ned is the killer. But if Gen 2 is the one sending the messages stop when Xavier dies, and then she disappears. Sounds like she's on a midnight flight to a country that doesn't have extradition.
Yeah, I am not fully ruling out Gen 2 as well. I think she could be a wild
Zoe,
card.
Though. We all know it was Zoe.
I still think
she turns into that bear and just mauled him to death. I didn't know there were going to be shapeshifters in this.
I do appreciate when they did shapeshift. Like they were all 5 of them. They were Voltron. Like the rage was the arm, the bear was the head. Yeah. It was great.
Form of Voltron. She's like, hey, we can all tell the story in a certain way. Any one of us could have done this. Tell the story in a different way, and none of us did this. Once again, that's not how murder works. Somebody either did it or they didn't. Somebody killed him, and she doesn't think it's Anik.
Well, and she even mentions that, like, Danner doesn't think it's Anik. Like, and I
Right.
think, like, listen to your gut. It's not Anik as well. Give him the chance to prove his innocence. Which I would argue he kind of did. Like, he told his whole story.
Right.
But, I mean, now that we know that Anik has seemingly listened into every other interview that she's done, Anik probably has some thoughts. But I guess we also had Anik try to prove his innocence with the note, and Danner immediately shot that down.
Right.
So I feel like he's tried.
I think the issue is it's tough to not think someone with face tattoos isn't the murderer, because don't you get, like, for each person you murder, you get a kitty cat ear over your eye? Isn't that a common gang thing?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I'm assuming that probably means Anik is... I mean, to get diarrhea on your neck, that's
boy.
like 12 murders, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
I don't know how many letters there are in diarrhea because I don't know how to spell it, but... Culp relieves Danner of her duty, per the captain.
Yeah.
He's like, you're done here. This is my investigation. The mayor wants your badge and your gun.
I appreciate Danner's response, like, there goes his memorabilia.
That was a great line. I still think Culp steals that safari hat on his way out.
I think he got that line. He crushed it.
All right, so in the end, we have no idea who's done it. Is that where you're at?
I mean,
give me your top three. You don't have to justify them. Just give me your top three. Gut, gumshoe reaction, gumshoe Tom, go.
Jasper's still my number one. Zoe is my number two. And I think Jen 2, just because of her disappearance and all that stuff, I think she's my wild card.
Okay. I agree with Zoe. I agree with Jasper. I agree with Gen 2.
Okay.
I also think it could possibly be Anik. I know it might be Gen 1. I think it could be Danner. It could be Culp.
Okay.
It could be Walt. Definitely, probably Walt.
Yep.
The person I don't think it is Ned. Sweet Ned.
Okay. So it could be anybody, but not Ned.
In fact, I think everyone killed him together, like kind of a Midnight on the Orient Express type situation.
Okay.
And then they're all going to blame it on Ned, sweet Ned. Just because he's a prankster. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I'm confused. I didn't like cartoons, but I enjoyed talking about this episode with you.
Mm-hmm.
I had more fun talking about it than I did watching it, which is fine.
So did you see the next episode is apparently Danner?
So I have tried to avoid all like spoilers and news about this show.
Because we're too behind
obviously, like Google knows my thing.
Yeah.
Google knows.
You're running a podcast about the after party and searching it constantly.
And so like a headline popped up about like a dark procedural, like cop procedural having to do with Danner. And then
that's
that
fun.
picture. Okay. And I was like, okay. And then like I had to quickly,
Yeah.
Close my browser for several reasons. But one of them was the news. And so I know that's what's coming, but I don't know what it's about. But I am very interested.
No, and I think that's fine. Like, yeah, I've been the same thing. Like, anytime any kind of, like, headline starts in an article, I just try to move past. But, saying what kind of mind movie it is, especially for, like, Danner and it being a procedural, I don't think that necessarily ruins too much. And it makes sense for her as a detective and could be a lot of fun. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it as well. I would say this was my Beard episode. Like, I've enjoyed all of them. This one I was kind of out on, but it also might have been just because of the mood I was in when I watched it.
I mean, I'm with you. I think there's too much kind of thrown at it, and whenever you kind of do the cartoon, like it just takes a lot of, I think, some of like the drama and stuff out of it because it just makes it a little bit too farcical.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm with you. It definitely wasn't my favorite as well, and I don't know if they did a whole lot to move a lot of plot in this one. And maybe we'll go back when we find out who the murderer is and like, oh, the Zoe episode was the one that really cracked the case, but I don't know if there was much.
To your point there, here's our homework for you listeners is there is a ton of stuff that happens in the background of this episode. We commented on a couple of them. I guarantee we missed like dozens, if not a baker's dozen. Message us. Tell us what you saw. We'll talk about it at the next one. Those are the ones that are worth mentioning. If it's the ones we talked about, then we'll just ignore you. But you can reach us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Team Binge. And if you are so inclined, throw us a review on one of your podcast apps, Apple, Stitcher, whatever you listen to. We'd appreciate it. We also have a website that you can contact us through. What's that website called, Tom?
That website is www.teambinge, TEAMBINGE.com.
I can't believe people are still listening to you spell out
They're
a
not.
website.
The second we start doing this stuff, people click off.
It's on the World Wide Web.
What
All
we
right.
need to do is do something really fun and exciting. Like, let's tell me a really hilarious joke right now. And the people that like cut off earlier are gonna be like, "Oh man, I missed that total cool joke that Julian said."
All right, yeah, I'll tell you a joke. I've been Julian.
And I've been Gumshoe Tom.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.